right, so after about 1,000 collection levels, we pulled our second Series 4 card in LuKyrie. The first one we pulled was a bust. I'm okay with this one. This one is a very strong one. I was happy to see this one come into our collection. And so LuKyrie is an interesting one. LuKyrie is a 2-cost, 1 power that has the ongoing ability your cards can't have their power reduced. Now, this can be used in a lot of things. Immediately, the mind goes to Hazmat because that is directly doing what LuKyrie is protecting you from in reducing all of your cards as well as your opponents. But there are a few other kind of sneaky ways that you can use LuKyrie, and a few of the initial ideas are Typhoid Mary. You can use Typhoid Mary and then follow that up with a LuKyrie later once the opponent thinks that they have the win condition, because LuKyrie can happen retroactively. It can restore the power that you lost. And so playing cards in Necrotia or Jotunheim, the one that reduces the power of each card by 1 each turn, LuKyrie can restore that power and give you a big swing once he's played. Now, for me, LuKyrie is not one that you drop on curve. LuKyrie is typically one that you drop at the very end of the game to allow yourself to have more upside. And so you can do Lizard, and then Lizard no longer has that negative downside. There's a lot of ways that you can use this, but today we're going to be using it in a little bit of a hybrid build. Now, we all know that I really enjoy a good Debrii deck. Like, that is probably one of my favorite decks of all time, is a send them crap. You can make such awkward situations for your opponent that it's just so much fun for me. And so with Debrii and with the Hood, with Black Widow, we're aiming to clog the opponent's side of the board. That way, if we get Hazmat but not LuKyrie, we can play Hazmat and still get more advantage out of it than we lose. But ideally, we'll have LuKyrie as well, because that's when the power potential goes absolutely nuts. In addition to that, we have a couple of other kind of cool interactions here. So we have Psylocke, which we don't really want to drop on 2 all that often. More than likely, we want to drop it on 3 so that we can ramp into an early Sarah. If we ramp into a Sarah on 4, we have a big power push on both 5 and 6, and we can do a lot of really cool things. We can use all of our cards that are going to send them crap to more strategically and efficiently cap out the opponent's locations where they don't have as much time to react. And then in addition to that, we can also do things like a Wong and an Ironheart into a Hazmat and a LuKyrie. Or we can do a Valkyrie, which is going to set all cards at that location to 3. And a cool interaction with LuKyrie and Valkyrie is that if your card was more than 3 power and it got reduced down to 3 from Valkyrie, LuKyrie is going to restore it to its original value. If we throw a demon that we got from the Hood into that location, that is going to restore an extra 3 power over what our opponent has. Or if we did an Ironheart into a Valkyrie, into a LuKyrie, that will also restore back to that power that it was. And so we have quite a bit of flexibility. This list is insanely fun, and it doesn't rely on just Hazmat, or it doesn't rely on just LuKyrie. There are several ways to play this deck, and yes, it gets harder if you don't have all of those resources, but it's still winnable in a lot of situations. Now, where this list will struggle is against Death Waves, because they have Killmonger, they have Carnage, they have ways to destroy the junk that you're sending them. And so if on turn 2 you play Black Widow and you realize that they are running a destruction deck, at that point you might try for the Psylocke into Sarah, into clogging up the entire location for your opponent all in one turn, rather than piecing it together bit by bit, because knowing that they might be able to destroy those cards. But overall, this list runs very similar to a Send 'em Junk style list. I'm not going to go too much more into detail. We've hit the high notes, but this list is incredibly fun. I have had quite a bit of success with it. You can do some surprising last turn plays where the opponent thinks they have the win condition, and then all of a sudden LuKyrie restores 12 power to that lane, and all of a sudden you win that lane very drastically where they didn't invest anything because they thought they had the win condition. So let's go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so first up we have Revis, and in our starting hand we have our Sarah, so we're going to be able to reduce some cards down. We could potentially do a Debrii into an Ironheart, which would buff up the card over there. The Hood, or Wakanda, is going to make sure that no cards can be destroyed. So I'm actually going to play the Hood, and then we will send the Hood over their way with the Viper, and that's going to start clogging up their side of the board. And so I'm actually going to do Viper and then Demon here. And we're confident enough, we're going to snap. Maybe we can lull them into a false sense of security. Maybe they start thinking they have the win condition, and then we can just restore everything. We have a couple of good play paths, but by sending them the Hood here, we're going to start clogging up the space that they have. Ooh, and they snap back. Very interesting. They may have a Cosmo that's going to come down here, and that's going to stop the Hood from going over their way. No, it's a Lizard, so we're fine. We're fine with the Lizard. The Cosmo was our greatest concern, but with the Viper, we're okay. If we draw into Debrii here, that's beautiful. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Sometimes I say words and things just happen. We're going to play Debrii into Xandar. We're going to try to finish capping out Wakanda. We're going to push a card over into Sanctum Sanctorum. We're going to try to hit that with Ironheart on the last turn. And we do get the full lane lockdown in Wakanda, in the middle location. They play a Jessica Jones, but that's fine. We're okay with that. We can now do a Sarah into a Valkyrie and a LuKyrie to make sure that we win this lane by a pretty large margin. Actually, no, I think that's gonna be good. Valkyrie would actually buff these up, but then buff this one down. I think we do play the Sarah here. I think we do Sarah into, I don't know, maybe a LuKyrie and an Ironheart. It just depends on what this last card is. Ooh, so they have a Vision. Oh, okay, that's kind of scary. So, if they move their Vision over into the Sanctum Sanctorum, which I assume they do, we can do a couple of things here. We can do a Black Widow into a Valkyrie, and we have, oh no, we have initiative here. We can do a Black Widow into a Valkyrie into a LuKyrie. That's going to restore a little bit of power here, but it really depends on what their last turn play is in this lane or in this location. We're going to have an additional 6 power, so it's going to be an additional 8 power because of Xandar. We're going to restore these. We're going to reduce Jessica Jones down by 1, only by 1 with LuKyrie, and so we will see. The Vision is a pretty good tech here. They did get pretty fortunate with the Vision play. Let's do the Black Widow into the Valkyrie. That sets everything here to 3. They only played 1 card, so we might have a chance at outpowering it. Our LuKyrie comes up to restore a little bit of power. They now copy the Black Widow and the Valkyrie, which will reset everything in that lane down to 3. But our LuKyrie is going to make sure that our Sarah, our lone Sarah, is the one that cannot have its power reduced. And so we do maintain the advantage by 1 point here. By 1 point, Sarah is able to find us the win condition. The leader play was unable to find the win condition for them. Very, very fortunate. Let's go ahead and take the 8 cubes. We will take those. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Jeff Montana. The far left location is Grand Central, so we might pull into a card that we don't necessarily want to, unless we have that lane close to capped out, maybe. So Atlantis is going to be okay. We have our Hazmat, we have our Sarah, which is 2 really good pieces of our combo. We also have Ironheart. We could set a lane to 3 with Valkyrie and then do an Ironheart on that last turn. We have a couple of ways that we can win. We're going to go ahead and play our Black Widow. That's going to send them a Widow's Bite. They're not going to draw anything this next turn. So if they were hoping to draw into one of their 4-cost cards, they're not going to be able to. And then Kamar Taj comes down. Ooh. And then we have LuKyrie. We have the LuKyrie right here. The Valkyrie. The combo itself. Now, if we do Sarah on 5, that's going to reduce this to 4. We could do 4, 5, 6. So that's going to trigger Hazmat twice. We could set everything to 3. It's going to trigger Hazmat from there. We then restore it. I think we can find our win condition just in these 3 cards. And so I almost want to drop Ironheart this turn. That would buff Black Widow up quite a bit. We're going to wait. I'm going to wait a turn. Maybe we draw into a Hood. And no, we draw into Debrii, which is fantastic. Debrii in Camartage is massive, especially with the Hazmat Wombo combo that we already have. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I want to snap, but I have played against Jeff Montana a few times, and he's pretty conservative. I think he might retreat if I snapped. And so I'm going to do Debrii. He may leave after he sees what comes down anyways. Brood is big in Atlantis, but if we don't have initiative going into that last turn, we can actually set that whole lane to 3, and then hit them with the Hazmat, and then restore the power of our cards. We have a couple of things that we can do here. We can do our Sarah. That's going to pull into a card in Grand Central. As long as it's not Hazmat, then we're okay. If it's Hazmat, not quite as okay. But we do need to play Sarah here. We're going to go ahead and do that. They do play their own Sarah in Grand Central, so they're not going to pull into anything. We're going to have initiative here. No, we don't have initiative because it pulls into the hood, which is okay. Because that means their Silver Surfer is going to be able to go off. I assume they have a massive Silver Surfer to make this lane insane. And from there, we're going to be able to do a Valkyrie to right size this lane. We can then do a double LuKyrie. That's not a thing. We can do a double Hazmat into a LuKyrie. So this is going to be reduced by 8. This is not going to be touched at all. We have the win condition. Unless they have a leader that they're going to copy our Hazmat with. No, they would double copy our Hazmat, but not our LuKyrie if they play the leader. So again, we have the win condition. It's very straightforward. I want to snap. We're very confident, but I also don't want Jeff to retreat. Let's go ahead and lock this one in. This is going to be a beautiful showcase of what this deck can do. So they have Iron Man, and I believe probably a Silver Surfer. No, and a Wolfsbane. Wow. We might have the win condition in all 3 lanes. Let's set this lane to 3. Let's then hit it with a Hazmat. We're going to then restore our cards to their full glory. Camartage comes down quite a bit because of the double Hazmat trigger, but it's not quite enough to have the win condition there. We have the win condition in Grand Central by 5 and in Atlantis by 8. Such a beautiful combo, because no matter what cards were here or if it had got buffed up to an insane level, we would have been fine with the Valkyrie into a LuKyrie, which is really, really cool. A couple of interactions with LuKyrie that I didn't anticipate whenever I saw the card was announced. He works phenomenally well. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Troop. And the first location is Shadowland, which is actually okay for us. If we hit that with a Valkyrie, or if we hit it with a Hazmat and then restore it, we're perfectly fine with a kind of a mirror match into the surprise LuKyrie drop, if we can find LuKyrie. He's been hiding at the bottom of our deck the last couple of games. So we do also have our Psylocke to ramp into an early Sarah. We have our Debrii to drop on 3, and we have the LuKyrie himself. Now they do have a Nova, so that tells me they're running some kind of destruction cards. I don't want to play Debrii early. I want to see if they will use a couple of their destruction tools first to make sure that they're less likely to be able to destroy whatever they're wanting to destroy. Let's go ahead and play this Psylocke. We can then do Sarah next turn, which is going to give us advantage for 2 turns in being able to drop more cards than the opponent can. They drop a Bishop, so maybe they're not running like a Death Wave. Maybe they're running more of a counter or control style list. Let's go ahead and play our Sarah. We can do both Green Goblin and Debrii next turn to try to cap out a couple of locations. So they do a Brood. Maybe they're doing a Silver Surfer list. We could set this to 3 with the Valkyrie if we don't have initiative going into that last turn, which would be ideal. Now we can do a lot of things here. We are about to send them so much junk. Okay, so we have Debrii. That's going to send 2 rocks onto their side of the board. We then have Viper that's going to try to send them 1 additional card in Shadowland. So we might get lucky and accidentally cap out the far left lane from them, which would be, again, ideal. Debrii should clog up Murder World because they only have 1 free spot. We're then also going to send them a Green Goblin in Hellfire Club, and we might potentially cap out their entire board if everything falls just the right way. And we still have a pretty good last turn play with the Valkyrie. Oh my gosh, it does. It falls exactly how we needed it to. Debris is going to come in. It's going to send one card to the left, max out the card to the right. There are there are no words that can describe how happy that turn made me. Oh my gosh. That was beautiful. Like I feel like we need to retire. Like that is probably that's one of the pinnacles. That is, how do we go up from there? Let's go ahead and jump over into the next game. Let's see if we can do something even moderately close to how cool that was. All right, next up we have Shimona, and the first location is New York. So we'll be able to move some cards on the final turn. If we can make it where that their side of New York is capped out, then they lose a lot of potential potency. Now, Bar with no name is actually kind of unfortunate for us. We could do something like an Ironheart there into a Hazmat to make sure that Ironheart is -1, but that's going to mean we can't play our LuKyrie. So we will play it by ear, depending on what it looks like the opponent is doing, because they could potentially change that location as well. And so we need to be kind of cautious just in case they do a last turn Storm, Scarlet Witch, or something that changes Bar with no name. Now, a lot of decks don't run those, but a lot of decks do. All right, so we both skip on turn 2 as well. Necrotia is pretty decent with LuKyrie because that's going to be, if we cap this out, it's going to be an 8-power push or swing for our cards. Let's go ahead. I'm going to send them a Green Goblin in New York so that they can't move it on the last turn. That way we know exactly where those resources are. They do play a Lockjaw, so they're going to start rotating some cards. I'm curious what kind of deck they're running. We can do a Wong into a Sarah into a couple of things on the last turn. I don't know exactly what we're looking for or what our win condition is going to be. I just know that Wong is typically pretty good. Ooh, they run a Hell Cow. So that means that the Bar with no name combo is probably going to be pretty solid. They do discard their Gambit, so we don't have to worry about that one. They do have Apocalypse in hand, so that's going to be a pretty big resource for them. We actually don't need to do our Hazmat now. We can do Hood, but we would want to play Hood after we dropped our Ironheart. So we're going to play Sarah. The intention is that we move it over into New York on the last turn, but they don't need to know that. So they flood their board with some of the swarms that they had. I think we're going to be able to sneak this lane out with just our Hood, which is going to be good. They discard their Hell Cow, and they play... Do they play all of their swarms? And so they flip this swarm into... Okay, and so they drop their Apocalypse again, which is, again, a really big play. And then Morbius in New York is massive. So now they have a really strong last turn play in New York if they wanted to. If not, they could try to cycle into Dracula here, but I don't think they do that. I think 7 is what we're competing with here. And so let's do a double Hazmat into a double Ironheart, into a Hood, regular Psylocke, and a LuKyrie. Because we're not trying to win New York. I don't think we have a chance in New York. If they move, well, I guess they could move their Lockjaw out of Necrotia. Oh, that changes things pretty drastically. If they move their Lockjaw into New York, they could actually play their Apocalypse into Necrotia, which is a very, very scary thought. We're going for it. We know we have Bar with no name locked down. It's just a matter of if they move their Lockjaw or not. We're going to see here. We're going to see. Let's see. Do they? No, they rotate their Swordmaster, and then they do rotate a card. They rotate their Apocalypse. What are they doing? They rotate it into a Dracula, but they don't have a good card to pull from, do they? And so we do Hazmat. We restore that with our LuKyrie. We have the double Ironheart coming in. Is that enough? It's not. It's not enough to find the win condition, is it? We only have 5, so if they discard a big card here... Oh, no, it is. It is enough, because the 9 still gets reduced from... Oh my gosh, that was a wave of emotions. I don't know why they rotated their Apocalypse ever, being 20 power. I have no idea. And then we actually won all 3 lanes. I don't... That felt a lot closer than what it was. There was a roller coaster of emotions. Let's go ahead and jump over into our next one. That was wild, guys. All right, next up we have Uthor. And the first location is Fisk Tower. We're going to go ahead and play our Hood. If we draw into Viper, that's beautiful. If not, we can always set this to 3. Oh, we can set this lane and their Ebony Maw to 3 with our Valkyrie at some point, which is a beautiful, beautiful combo. We have the Psylocke that we want to drop on 3. We don't... We're going to do Psylocke into a Wong. A lot of times I like to ramp into the Sarah instead, but we don't have Sarah, so we don't know if we want to hold it or not. If we top deck into Sarah, I'm going to be a little bit sad, I'm not going to lie. Okay, so we flip into Viper, which I am okay with. We're going to have to do Wong into Wakanda, because Strange Academy is going to move the resources on that last turn, and if they get pushed over into Fisk Tower, then they're destroyed. So let's play the Wong. Next turn we can do something like... next turn we can do something like a Viper to send them a resource here into a Demon. We can do Sarah on turn 5 in the Wong lane. It won't be Wong, I promise. We can do Valkyrie and Ironheart to find a way to right-size the rest of our cards. What is this list? So then it's a Deadpool into a Forge. I am so confused at what in the world is going on here. Let's go ahead and play our Sarah. I don't know what's happening. Into a Quake. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so so our Sarah might get destroyed here. They quaked us. They quaked us and shaked us. Our Sarah gets destroyed. Our Wong goes into Wakanda. Oh no, what is happening? That was unexpected. Not a good unexpected. Just unexpected. We could do Hazmat. I'm gonna do a Green Goblin and an Ironheart, and we're gonna lose to whatever this list is. Oh goodness. Where did Quake got destroyed too, didn't she? Ooh, okay. So they play 2 cards into the Strange Academy. We're gonna send them a Green Goblin and Fisk Tower, so we win the far right lane. Now it just, Ironheart, can that buff it up? It's gonna buff it up by 6, so that gives us the win condition by 1. What a... Uthor. I feel like you were running either a fully random or some kind of meme deck, and you obliterated us. That was a nasty combination of Strange Academy going into middle, because that was a 50% flip with Quake, and it could have flipped into Fisk Tower mid, and then it would have been just fine. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful Quake interaction. With that craziness, I'm gonna end this video. This video has been full of ups and downs and roller coasters. I don't know that my heart can take it anymore. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. I have plenty of new cards, new builds coming. I have a list of about 12 different things that I want to try. Not all of them are going to make the cut, but I am going to be experimenting with a lot of cards very, very soon. So make sure to stick around. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.